Alright, it's time for another Random Thoughts from a Crazed Mind video. The worst video channel on YouTube. And today I'm going to be talking about what is going on with Bitcoin. So, the market's going down as I talked about in my last video, which was what is happening with the stock market. And along those same lines, I'm going to be talking about what is going on with Bitcoin. So, I already talked about why the stock market is going down, and Bitcoin is going down as well. The reason Bitcoin is going down is because Bitcoin is basically a leveraged play on the stock market, which most people who are buying Bitcoin don't know because they think that it's some kind of a security or something like that. But they are wrong, and they are finding out that they are wrong. I haven't figured it out yet. I probably never will figure it out. But basically, Bitcoin is now being heavily damaged because people are starting to realize that Bitcoin is not quite what they thought it was. It's not working the way it's supposed to work. Things are not quite going the way they're supposed to go, and it can't really be what it has been claimed to be. Some people are starting to figure this out. Not a lot, but some people are. And all that has to happen is that some people have to figure it out. So, the idea behind Bitcoin is that it is basically gold, and that it will be a e-version of gold. So then it will become a currency. So you won't need gold anymore because you'll have Bitcoin. It's actually the opposite. You don't need gold because you don't need Bitcoin because you got gold. But this whole the whole currency type situation has people fascinated. They think that it can take over for government currencies. But Bitcoin is just a play on the stock market. It is a speculative asset. So when the stock market goes up, it goes up because people are speculating. If the economy is good, people think Bitcoin will be good. If the economy is bad, they think Bitcoin will be bad. So it goes down. They trade Bitcoin the way they trade the stock market. It's the same psychology. It's the same people. It's the same everything. There's nothing unique about Bitcoin except the false premise that it's based on. So that false premise is now starting to be exposed. You're seeing that it's not trading like gold. It's not gold. So it's not a protection against inflation. It's not a protection against anything. It's just Bitcoin. It's like an Andy Warhol painting. Right? People are fascinated by it. It's possible that Bitcoin could become a type of Andy Warhol asset where, an Andy Warhol artwork is worth maybe $50 on the street, and now it's worth millions of dollars because rich people agree between themselves that it's worth millions of dollars because they've been conned by art collectors or art dealers who know how to take advantage of rich people. And Bitcoin is just something where people know how to take advantage of stupid people. But with the Federal Reserve driving down asset prices, that has a massive effect on Bitcoin. So there's a very good chance here that Bitcoin will go down 80%. It's already down more than 50%. I don't think it goes down probably more than 80% in the first phase, but what you're going to start to see with Bitcoin now, the confidence in Bitcoin is broken. So people realize that Bitcoin's going to zero. They aren't quite willing to admit it to themselves, but that process has started. It is going to start its inevitable final decline. Now this is going to take place over a period of years because Bitcoin is a social phenomenon. It is largely a Republican phenomenon, and Republicans are really true believers in their version of the way that the world works. So people are going to give up on this really hard and only with a lot of loss. But that loss is going to come, and it's already coming. You can see that Coinbase, which is now under $100, it's tanking. Some of these stable coins are on the verge of collapse, and so it could potentially go down a lot further. But there'll be some point where people decide to buy it and it'll hold for a little while. So what you're going to see over the next period of years, you're going to see Bitcoin start to trade in a downtrend. So we've already got this 50%, maybe 60% downtrend. That could get to 80, depending on what happens with the stock market. As long as the stock market does okay, Bitcoin will be all right. If they can hold the stock market here about 4,000, like I said, the Fed wants to do, or 3,500 even. If it gets down to 3,500, that'll do a lot of damage to Bitcoin. At that point, you'll be down probably something on the order of 70% or something like that, which is what I would expect kind of in this first phase. It'll probably get hit by 80% unless the Fed's able to get rid of inflation, and then this whole charade can go on for quite a bit longer. If the stock market goes down markedly, if we get a 50% correction in the stock market, which is highly unlikely, because the Fed's probably going to panic out of all this stuff that they're doing once the stock market takes some pretty good hits and inflation really gets smashed, and then the economy gets smashed along with it. There's going to be a complete reversal. So that would be good for Bitcoin, except if there is that damage done to the economy and to the stock market. So what you're experiencing now with Bitcoin is irreparable damage. People are being damaged in ways that they can't come back from, and that's going to continue, and it's going to trend lower and lower and lower. And so you'll have these legs of a downturn. It goes down sharply, it'll rally up, and then it'll have subsequent lower rallies with lower highs and higher lows, or however you want to call it, whatever that phrase is. It's going to have, it's going to just start trending. It's going to do this jagged move to it goes all the way down to its eventual point of zero. But you'll have some big rallies. This is a very speculative asset, so there'll be times when, let's say, it gets down to something like 20,000. You'll have a big rally up to 30,000, maybe even 40,000. Then it'll tank, and then it'll go down to 15,000, and then it'll rally up to 25,000, and then it'll go down to 12,000. And eventually it'll go down to 8,000, and then it'll go down to 4,000, and then it'll go down to 2,000, and then it'll go down to 1,000. Then at some point it'll just go and it'll be gone. It'll be trading for $2, $3, 25 cents, whatever. It'll probably always be bouncing around, except for there's a lot of costs with Bitcoin. So once all these people who are start losing money on electricity costs and that sort of stuff, and once the whole system starts to implode from its massive expenses, once people start to get wise to all these higher expenses they're going to be trying to pass off, things will it'll sort of collapse at some point. But because people do have such an ideological commitment to Bitcoin that they're not really able to, because it is largely a Republican phenomenon, and they're not going to give up on it easily. It's going to take a while for people to really get beaten up and destroyed in this asset. So that's what you can expect from Bitcoin. It's going down because the whole premise behind Bitcoin is being broken. Confidence in Bitcoin is being broken. A lot of damage is being done here to Bitcoin. A lot of confidence is being destroyed. And that's going to be a continuing process. So we're at the beginning phase of the destruction of Bitcoin. There'll be some rallies, people gain some confidence, and then it will all start all over again. Because we're out of the time when the Fed is going to pump up the stock market. They've really been burned by that. We've got huge problems coming with the war with Russia. There's potentially a lot of damage that's going to be done to Europe. Tremendous damage potentially to Europe if Russia cuts off grain and that sort of thing in the fall. They can really break Europe in half, and if that happens, then the U.S. stock market will, go down 50% probably, because the U.S. will be really heavily impacted by that as well. So that would create the kind of inflation you can't combat, and that would be a real problem. So we're living in very dangerous times right now. Bitcoin is a really dangerous asset, so it is really tremendously at risk here. This looks like a kind of a phase where it goes down 80%. I don't know if it goes down 80% or not, but probably along this process where the Fed is trying to take the air out of the gigantic bubble that it's created with its trying to jack up the stock market as high as possible. All this is going to really hit Bitcoin hard, because that's really what's been backing Bitcoin. The stock market, money that gets made in the stock market gets funneled over to Bitcoin. All the confidence that's in the stock market gets funneled into Bitcoin. When you take that in the other direction, it's a disaster. So that's what's happening with Bitcoin. That's what you can expect with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is starting the beginning of its ultimate demise, most likely. Probably going to go down something in the order of 80% right here, depending on if the Fed is able to rescue the market here. If it stays about 4,000, this thing can extend out a lot farther. If it goes down further, 3,500, that's going to do a lot of damage to Bitcoin. I would expect it to go down 80%. If we get down to like 3,500, if we go lower than 3,500, which I can't imagine that the Fed will not reverse course, but they might. If that happens, Bitcoin's going to go down to very low levels, very low levels, and will not likely come back, because the Fed's not going to probably reflate this thing the way they have in the past, but actually they probably will. I mean, they probably will have to. So that's what you can expect, but there's going to come a point where the Fed inflation does not help Bitcoin at all. Confidence is destroyed. People realize that they've been had, they want to get out while they still have money, and that's what's happening now. People are starting to realize it. It's going to take a long time, but the damage is being done. It's going to continue to be done. You're going to have a steep downturn. That downturn will not rally to the extent it has in the past. And then you'll have subsequent lower rallies over a period of months and years, and then it goes to zero ultimately, because there's too many expenses with Bitcoin, too many costs to society, too many costs to governments, and ultimately Bitcoin will cease to exist. There'll probably always be some kind of Bitcoin out there trading for $1.25, something like that. People trying to make it work, because this is something people really believe in. And even after it's proven to be a concept that doesn't work, people will try it again, and they'll get a few hangers on, and rinse and repeat. So that's what's happening with Bitcoin. That's my video for today, and This has been another video from Random Thoughts in a Crazy Mind, the worst video channel on YouTube. So long, YouTube. What the